Hello friends, welcome to the sixth part of the best games of William Steinitz series. Until now, we looked at 5 interesting games, but today's game is very special because it was played in the first game of the first official World Chess Championship in the history of chess. Yes, in the year of 1886, William Steinitz and Zukertort played in the World Championship match. Well, Zukertort was obviously a very great player at that time, but he was also famous because he was the most talented student of great Adolf Anderssen. It is said that Zukertort played at least 1000 games with Adolf Anderssen, and he adopted all the techniques, all the combinational things whichever was there in the past era from Anderssen. And he was a very great player, you can say the combinational player or the attacking player at that time. But we also know this thing that William Steinitz devised his own technique, he devised his own principles, and he always said that the premature attacks which used to happen in the past era are not good. You need to plan, you need to bring all your pieces, and then when you have accumulated small advantages, then only you should go for the attack. And he always tried to prove these principles through his game. So the game, the match which this world championship was not about just the crown, it was also Steinitz always wanted to prove his point, and it was also about his principles, the truth of his principles. So that's why it was a very fascinating game. So the first game which we are going to see is you can say the great example of positional school or the positional masterpiece or the positional sacrifice which William Steinitz gave. So without further delay, let's get started with the game and understand what really happened. So the game started with d4. In this game, Zukertort was white, William Steinitz was black, then d5, c4, c6. Well, this is Slav defense. Here white played e3 and bishop to the f5. Well, this is a little bit you can say not that great move. Usually in this case black players play knight to the f6, e6, or even d into c4, but bishop f5 is a little bit tricky move. So white player c knight to the c3, but here c into d5 was the best option. And we know this thing that in the modern era, c into d5, queen to the b3, and here black is already in little bit trouble because he needs to protect the pawn on b7, and he needs to be a little bit on the back foot. So coming back to the game, knight c3 was played, and here black played e6, knight to the f3, knight d7, and now a3. The idea of a3 is that white wants to play c5 and b4 and expand on the queen side. Here in this position, William Steinitz played a very nice psychological move. He played bishop to the d6, provoking his opponent to play c5. Well, why? You will see. Here, black played bishop to the d6 and white went to play c5. Obviously, here c5 was a little bit, you can say, immature, like premature. So c5 was played, bishop to the c7, and here white played b4. And here in this position, Steinitz has already prepared one breakthrough that was in the center, because according to the principles, it is said that whenever your opponent tries to expand on any wing of the board, like the queen side or the king side, you should try to break in the center of the board. That's the best way to deal with the position, and that's what William Steinitz did. He played e5 in this position, a very nice move. Then bishop to the e2. Obviously in this position, if d5 is played, then after knight into e5, the knight will be very nicely placed in the center of the board. Plus the bishop is also very good placed on this diagonal. This bishop is also nicely developed, and this knight on g8 is also going to come in the game, and black's position will be very fine. So he did not play it, he played bishop to the e2. And here Steinitz played knight g f6, bishop to the e2, sorry, b2, and here again a good move. Can you guess the move from black side? Yes, he played e4 in this position because what he wants to do, like he wants to dislodge this knight from the game, means on the king side. So knight d2 was played. Another thing which is happening is, like, as you can see, these pawns are there on the dark squares, and the bishop on b2 is a little bit, you can say, completely trapped behind this pawn chain. And another thing is that as these knights are also there, they are not having any jumping spots because the d7, c6, d5 and e4 pawn chain. So this was a very nice decision by William Steinitz, who just blocked his opponent's pieces on the queen side. And you can see that black's pieces, this bishop on c7, this bishop on f5 plus the knight, everybody is going towards the king side in this position. And to further consolidate the position, or you can say the further increasing his advantage on the king side, William Steinitz played h5 in this position, a very nice move. Here white cannot really castle, because if he castles in this position it will be a huge mistake, because it will invite the famous Greek gift sacrifice, which will start with bishop into h2 check. And here if king into h2, then we have knight to the g4 check. If obviously if you capture bishop into g4 in this position, then it will lead to a check and mate after h into g4 check with this rook. And once the king goes to the g1 square, the queen will also join the game with queen to the h4, and there is no stoppage for the check and mate which is going to happen on h1. Even if you play f4, black can play g3, and then we have queen to the h1, unstoppable check and mate. Well, here obviously after instead of bishop into g4, even if you play king to the g1, then queen to the h4 is a nice move with the threat of queen to the h2 check and mate. Because even if you play this move, still it will lead to a checkmate after this check, king to the f1 and queen h1. The game will surely be over, because the variation with bishop into g4 will lead to the same variation which we saw earlier. So obviously castling is not any option in this position. And Zukertort obviously understood this thing and he played h3 in this case. Sir, after h3, William Steinitz thought like, what should I do in this position? Should I castle or should I play something else? And he understood very well that in this position, if he brings more pieces towards the king side, then it will be very good position for him. That's why he played knight to the f8 in this case. Now obviously white wants to expand on the queen side, there only he has more pieces, so he played f4, and black continued with his king side play with knight to the g6, b5. White is also being very consistent on the queen side, and black is also going to be very consistent on the other side of the board. So here William Steinitz played knight to the h4, attacking the pawn on g2. Still you can see that in this position black is bringing all his pieces on the king side, and white is not in any kind of position to castle on that side, because if he castles on that side, then obviously the position will be opened up with the sacrifice on h3 or g2, and white's king will be checkmated very soon. So he's not going to do that. Here here in this position, if white tries to defend the pawn on g2 with bishop to the f1, then Steinitz can continue with g5, the pawn will go to the g4 square, and it will be a very nice balanced attacking position on the king side. Well, in this position white played g3, and now Zukertort thought that Steinitz will go back to the g6 square, but Steinitz has prepared a very nice positional sacrifice in this position. He prepared that the knight to the g2 check after king to the f1. Although this knight is trapped on g2 square, he is not going to keep it there. He is going to play knight into e3 check. Well, this is a positional sacrifice in this case, because now you can see that after this sacrifice, bishop into g3 was happened, and after king to the d2, bishop to the c7, we will take the stock of the position. What is really happening? Why did he give one sacrifice in this position? Because as you can see, these three pawns are there. That's why this this bishop is not coming in the game. Plus these knights are also restricted in this case. So you can say that the three minor pieces which are there on the queen side will not take part in the game on the king side. So they are completely blocked on the other side of the board. Whereas black's pieces, that is the bishop on c7, the bishop on f5, the knight on f6, and also the rook on h8, which is ready to come in the game via rook h6 and rook g6, and white's king is very unsafe on the king side. So with these four pieces you can say, and potentially the queen also will join the game very soon, white's king will be very unsafe. He might get checkmated at any point of the game, but even if it doesn't get checkmated, still black will have a lot of positional advantages in this position. He will get a great positional attack, you can say. That's why he has given the sacrifice on the e3 square for opening up the white's king side. Very clever idea. Here Zukertort played queen to the g1, and after this obviously what should you do? You should bring more pieces in the game. That's why rook h6 was played, king to the f1, then rook g6 was played, attacking the queen, and here queen to the f2. Now it's time to bring our queen in the game. So he played queen to the d7 here in this position. White played b into c6, b into c6, and rook to the g1. Well, he wants to action as many pieces as possible, but by doing this rook to the by playing this rook to the g1, he has left this pawn on h3 hanging. Although that pawn was already under attack because of this queen and the bishop, and it was very difficult position for white. So black played bishop into h3 check, king to the e1. Now the question is like whether you are going to exchange the rooks or you going to play a good move. And Steinitz played actually a very nice move. He played knight to the g4, not going for the exchanges, and after knight to the g4, the pawn on e3 is also about to fall. That's why white is forced to play bishop into g4, and after this bishop into g4, you can say that the only active piece which was there in minor piece which was there in the white's camp is also vanished from the board. And after bishop into g4, you can say that all these pieces are not that active. And look at black's pieces. These two bishops are like true dragons in this position, plus the rook is there, and these pawns which are there on the king side are ready to roll in this case. And here he played knight to the e2, then bishop queen to the e7. Obviously we want to control this h4 square also, and knight to the f4, and then rook to the h6, bishop to the c3, and it's time to roll with your pawns. So g5 was played by Steinitz, dislodging this knight on f4, knight to the e2, then bring the rook in the game, rook to the f6. And now after queen to the g2, Steinitz played a very astonishing move. He played rook to the f3 in this case, not at all fearing about knight into f3, because if you play that move, then after g into f3, obviously you are e into f3, obviously you are going to get the e2 knight, and black is like completely dominating in this position. He is not afraid of anything. And here in this position, you can say that the Philidor would have been very proud, because you can see the pawns which are there on the king side are going to roll, and it will show their strength very soon. So knight f1 was played. This position is already quite, you can say, the winning position from black side. I'll just go through the moves so that you will understand what really happened. And in this position, Steinitz brought his last piece in the game, the rook on a8. He played rook to the b8, bringing the rook in the game, and now king to the d2, and it's time for you to push your last pawn which was there on the king side. And he played f5. a5 was played by white, and here f4 move, very nice move, rook to the h1, and now it's time to bring queen on the king side. Queen f7 was played, rook to the e1, and now f into e3, knight into e3, and now in this position black played a nice move by which he is actually forced white to give up the queen by the move rook to the f2. Even rook into e3 was also one of the possibilities which might lead to king into e3, bishop to the f4 check, then king to the f2, and now rook to the b3. A very nice move. The idea is obviously to capture on the e2 and then capture on the c3, and he cannot really prevent everything in this position. And if rook f1 is played, then bishop into e2, rook into e2, rook into c3, and even though black is action down, these two pawns on the king side will decide the game very soon, because the pawns are rolling and the king is also very exposed in this case. So coming back to the game, Zukertort was under a lot of pressure, and Steinitz played rook to the f2 in this position, and then he decided to give up the queen, queen into f2, queen into f2, rook to the knight into g4, and in this position a very nice intermediate move was played by Steinitz. He played bishop to the f4 check, king to the c2, and now h into g4. Now this pawn is also ready to roll, and you can say this is almost game over. They played bishop to the d2, now e3, then bishop to the c1, and now queen to the g2. Obviously the idea is to play queen to the e4 in this case, and attack the white's king, king to the c3, no check position, and now it's time to bring the king in the game. He played king to the d7, rook to the h7, king e6, rook h6 check, king f5, and bishop into e3, bishop into e3. And the last trick which Zukertort tried in this game is rook to the f1. Obviously Steinitz did not fall for the queen into f1, because after knight into g3, knight to the g3 check, maybe king to the f4, knight to the f1, and white is still fighting in the game. Although This will also lead to winning position for black, but still it will be a struggle. So after rook to the f1, Stainis played bishop to the f4, and Zukertort decided to resign in this game. So this was a very nice balanced positional sacrifice you can see in this game, and Stainis proved his point. But after this game, you can say that Zukertort came out all guns blazing and he won 4 games in a row. We'll see what happened in the next game. One very fascinating game with the Stennis side, obviously, and then we will move to the next World Chess Championship match which Stennis played against Chigorin. Until that moment, stay tuned with me. If you like my videos, do subscribe to my channel if you are not subscribed, and you can always support my channel by donating. I have given the links in the description. We will meet once again. Thank you for watching the video. See you once again.